All right, team. Today we're going to consolidate similar activity items in the feed just so that it doesn't pollute the stream. So at the moment, you can see we've got the recent activity. But if you upload multiple images, it'll be like new image was added, new image was added, new image was added. We're going to grab those, and then within a certain time period, we're going to say, okay, if you upload 5 images within 2 hours, we're going to group that into one post. So let's do that. All right, so to start this one, I think we're going to have a quick look at the Prisma schema just to refresh our memory. So we're looking at activity item. So at the moment, an activity item has let's just jump into what we have. So it has a event type, and forgive me for the size of this, just can't zoom in, and it has a subject type. So if you do multiple projects image, there's really no way of saying this is a group of items. So what I think we could do here is we can have the same thing as we've got with comments, and it's the parent ID. Let's just find that parent comment ID, right? So we got this kind of idea over here. So we're going to do the same thing with activity items, but instead of parent comment, we'll call it parent item. So it'll be parent item, and then this will be parent item ID. Then, so let's just see what this is. It'll be an activity item, and we have sub items here. So items, sub items, nice, cool. All right, so what we're doing is now what we can do, and when we want to group a whole bunch of things, we can just say set their parent item to an item, and then that item, we're going to call that item, we're going to add a special column also, a boolean of is grouped, or is a group, right? I'm going to change this to is group. All right, so what we do is we'll set the parent item to be a group, and then we're going to be able to just say when we fetch this item, we can then say, okay, this has children, so we can fetch the children of this item's ID. Bit hard to explain in words, but you'll see as we go. I'm also going to just double check if there's anything else that I wanted to do. No, so we also have to add the keys. So let's look for projects.created or posts. Here we go. So the event type for this will be, the main one that I want to focus on right now is this project's images. So I'm wondering if we introduce something like a convention would be projects images dot group created. So I think, because what we can do then is when we actually go and create the group event, we can set its key to this. So we know it's special type rather than using our normal views to render that. So how do we implement this now? Let's just quickly run Prisma db migrate. So we're going to run npm run migrate. Okay, let's see what happened here. So now what we can see is we have a parent item ID here, and we also have is group. All right, and that defaults to false. All right, so now if we have a look at the activity items, we can see here, okay? So that's all good. So let's run npm run dev again. Now, what we want to do is we have our special util, this create activity item. Now, at the moment, we're just creating an item. We're not looking for anything else. But what we're going to do now is we're going to say const similar items equals await, and it's find many, that's right, and it's going to be where. And what we're going to do here is the event type, right? So we're looking for the same type of events. So this will be projects image created, but then it needs to be for the same subject, right? The same subject ID and the same subject type. And then what we want to do is we want to have a constraint on created at greater than, so what are they doing here? Minus, what is this? It's a new date. So I'm just going to set up a new date here just so it's a bit easier to see what's going on. So const date now equals new date. And let's just see where we've done this before, because we have done it. Might be time now. No, date. So just finding where we've used this. Current date is how we convention. Current date 7 days ago. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. We're going to get the current date. And then we're going to say 1 hour. So it'll be 1 hour ago. So that's 60 seconds times 60 minutes is an hour. And what's this for? It's in milliseconds. All right. So let's see. So we want to say where created at is greater than 1 hour ago. Okay. And those are going to be our similar items, because we want to basically group within the last hour all of the pictures that are added to a build. If you add after an hour, then we'll assume that's a new, kind of a new post or an activity. So let's do console.log similar items. All right, and we won't, and we can keep doing this just for now. All right, so let's go and have a try and see how this works. So I'll pull up the console for us. And let's go into the Hilux. And what we'll do is we'll add some images. All right, so we're gonna go here and let's just upload an image. So you can see here similar items is an empty array. Okay, so that's expected because we haven't uploaded anything in the last hour. Let's go and add another picture. I'll just add the same photo again. Oh, it's not letting us. Click smart, that's good. Here we go, we'll do this one. Okay, so similar items is again nothing. So that's not good, so something's wrong here. So let's console log our params as well. I might just do this, params and then similar items. It's created at is greater than 1 hour ago, okay? Could have the timing wrong. So let's add another photo. So projects image created. The subject type. Okay, this was also what I needed to add. So at the moment, the subject type is the project's image. So that's not going to work for us. What we need to do is have like a parent type. Because basically it's what is the thing that we want to watch and group on. So we want to group on the project. That's the kind of thing, the top level item we want to look at. So obviously every time we look for these, it's always going to be different, right? So if we can, I'll show you an example. In here, the subject ID is changing. So we're never going to have the same things. That's a little oversight there. So let's just go through here and just quickly delete some of these images. All right, so there's another column we need to add into Prisma. And it's going to basically be the group. It's the group type and the group ID. Or the, I'm trying to think of a better name here. So I think for now, what I'm going to go with here is parent subject ID and parent subject type. All right, and these are both optional because you may not have one. Okay, so we're introducing that. So let's run migrate again. All right, so now we've got these two variables that we can also get passed through. All right, so we're gonna have parent subject ID and parent subject type. Okay, so these two can come through now, and these are going to be optional. So let's grab that, and both of these are optional. Now, what we're going to do is, if we've been past this, then we can group things. All right, and then here we're going to pass through the parent subject type and the parent subject ID when we create. All right, so that's cool. Now, what we want to do is when we're uploading an image, we're hitting the router, and we're hitting the user images. Oh, sorry, not user images, projects images. What I also wanted to do actually on there, while we were using the migrations, is when we did project manufacture parts, project parts, this one, we added the user ID column. I want to do the same thing for the project's images. So projects image, I want to add in here user ID. So where is projects manufacturer part? This, I'm going to grab this and I'll add it to image. All right. Now let's go to the user model. And let's just fix this up to the projects images. All right, and what that just helps us is it gets a cleaner way to get into when we create. So let's just run that migration again. All right, so now what we should be able to see is in projects images, got the user ID column. All right. So now we know who created that project's image. Just makes it a little bit easier for us later on. So we're also going to go data, project, image, sort. We can also go here, user is equal to connect, and that's going to be ID. There we go. STU. Okay. So now when we create a project image, we're also going to connect the user. Okay. That just makes that nice and easy. Now, when we create the activity here, we want to pass through the project. So this is a transaction, meaning we're going to get two results back here. So at the moment, we're just destructuring one. So we're going to grab the project here as well. And now what we can say is the parent subject ID is the project ID. And the parent subject type is project. All right, because that's our thing. That's the thing we're going to want to group on. You know, as you upload multiple images to the project, we're going to group all these project image creators on that project to create a single post or in the activity feed. All right, so let's go. I just want to check the delete one. That just deletes for that exact subject. That's fine. All right, so let's go and see what we're getting now. Let's do a little upload here. Well, it helps if you're running dev, so. Okay, let's do it. Upload this picture. Here we go. So we got our parent subject there, which is that project, and then we got our subject here. Okay, no similar items. Let's try another photo. Here we go. Look at this. So now, because we've got the parent subject here, we now have similar items. All right? So you can see this was the previous image that we've uploaded. Cool. So now this is the similar item. There's no parent item on it yet. Okay, cool. So let's look at how this is going to work. So I'm just going to create some comments here. So it's like find similar items belonging to parent subject. All right. Now, this only happens if we've been passed a parent subject type and a parent subject ID. If we don't have that, let's just skip this and be efficient. We don't care about this. All right. So this only happens if we have those two params. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say const. It's basically if similar items.length is greater than 0, right? So we have some. What we could basically say is we don't want to return. Now that's all right. We can keep moving through here. So maybe what we can do is we can create a method now called const group similar activity items. Okay, and that's going to be an async method. That's cool, and it's definitely not create activity. It's going to be const type params. And now what are we going to pass in here? So we're going to pass in the similar items, and that's going to be an activity item array. All right, so that comes from import type activity item. That's the first thing. And I guess that's all we need actually for now. I mean, we can pass through, let's just see if we can get away with just this. So we're going to go const similar items from the params. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, so we're going to say in here, I'm just trying to think how we create this, just so we can pass the variables through to this new activity item that gets created. I almost wonder if we need to do it after this call here, because what we need to do is we need this item as well. So what I'll do is I'll move this below here. All right, so if we have similar items, and it'll be greater than 1, because we'll always have 1, because it'll be itself. But if we have more than 1, this is where we want to now go and do the grouping. So we're not going to return, we're just going to await, and it'll be group similar items. And I'm even thinking we could pull this method into here. So we don't even get that. So we're actually going to need slightly different params. We're going to need the event type. We're going to need the parent subject. All right. And then we're going to get similar items. Now we need to get these params out, so it's event type and what we can, like, realistically, we can probably even pull this into this function. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, instead of doing this, I'm going to say paste that there. I'm going to say if we don't have a subject type or that, we're just going to return. Alright? Because there's nothing to do here. And that means we can clean up this function. There's one less if statement in here. We don't need this. Alright, and what does this need? This needs event type, and then it needs these two. Okay. Sweet. So this method is now much simpler. Doesn't care about the grouping. Just says, hey, do that job for me. This will do the rest. Alright. So now what we're going to say, if similar items is less than 2, return. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So we need more than one, so 2 or more, to actually group. And then what we can do here is we will say group items true, and then we're going to just do that, because this will just tell us, hey, we can now just watch this. So let's give this a spin and just see what we're getting. So let's upload another photo. We should expect 3 items and similar items now. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's the 3 items now that we want to do, and we want to group these items. Awesome. Sweet, so what does this look like now? What we want to do here is create a new activity item, which is going to be the parent item or the holder of these items. Okay, so realistically what we can do here is the subject type will be the project, and then the event, because I believe we build off of the events. Let's just go into our activity item components. We build off the event here to do the component. So the subject doesn't really matter so much. So what we can do here is we're going to say, okay, so we've got more than 2. So let's set up the group activity item. So what we're going to do is we're going to say group activity item or parent activity item. Okay, is going to be activity item create. Now it's going to look, yep, with data. Thank you. It's going to be very similar to this. It's not going to have a parent. All right. So I guess we almost need to pass through all the params here. We need the own ID and subject. So we pretty much need all of this data. So we can actually reuse this type. And I might just move this type up top just for readability, so you come straight into it there. Okay, so now we need all of these other ones. So basically I can just grab this again and replace it up here. And then we need to we just pass through basically params straight through. Okay, sweet. So now we're going to create a new parent activity item. All right. Once that item is created, the event type though is going to be slightly different. So, okay, what is this I was saying? Event type dot group created. So it's not quite that. So maybe we need to come up with a convention, because event type is going to be something like this. So maybe we can just say dot group on the end. right? So we can say project images.group. Or do we split that? So it'll be created.group, sorry. I'm just trying to think how we can label this. We could do something like that. Because we're just going to we're going to use this string in here to grab out what we want to do here. So I reckon we can just do this because that's actually, we can just use this event type and we're going to just append to it. So that was quite a good little hint there. So we're going to just say dot grouped. So whatever the event type comes in, we're just going to add dot grouped. All right. Sweet. So that'll be pretty good. Now, so we're going to create that parent activity item. Now what we need to do is we need to loop through all the, update the, for each symbol. Yep, that's exactly what we want to do. Promise.all. There we go, look at this. So what is this saying? Let's just check. What are we called? It's called parent item ID, not parent activity item. It got very close. I might even rename that just so. All right. So here what we're going to do is we're going to loop through all the similar items and we're going to update them so that their parent item ID is now equal to the parent item. And this actually needs to be a find or create, not just a create, because this could exist already. So what we could do here is we can find existing parent item. So existing is equal to await Prisma activity at find first where, and then we're going to grab this. Okay, so we're going to look for this group. Okay. And that's what we're going to get there. We don't need this upsert anymore. So what we're going to say here is parent item is equal to existing parent item or create it. I mean, let's do the owner ID as well, actually. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say existing parent item attributes. It's going to be this. And then I'm just going to chuck those there. And I'm going to chuck these there. Alright, so then I just don't have to keep defining these same variables. So we're either going to find one. If we have one, we're going to use that. Otherwise, we're going to create a new one with the same parameters that we were looking for over here. So that looks alright. Okay, so let's just run that again and just see what we're getting. Now we should expect to return the ID of this when we run this again. So let's chuck another photo up there. Let's hope that's the same. No, it's not. Why is that? Let's see what the DB is saying. Okay. It's because the first one that we did had a different subject type. It also didn't have the group. So in the next picture, it should return that one. So it's BF3. Let's see. Let's add this one in. Here we go. BF3, there we go. Cool, now we're getting a match on the parent. That's cool. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else we need to think about here now? Do we need to include the time? Because if we get multiple groups on the same thing, we'll just keep grouping together, which we don't actually want. So we do want this here. So we're going to spread that in. And then we're going to add on here the created at. Because we do want to restrict this just to the last hour where this group's being created. Otherwise, we're going to end up, whenever you upload a photo, it's always going to go to that same activity. That's also not what we want. All right, so let's just add another photo and see if we're still getting back that same BF3. I'll upload that. And the parent item is BF3. Cool, so we're getting our same group the whole time. All right, we're on our way. We can manage to keep the group. I'm gonna have to delete all these photos again. Fun times. All right, so what we do need to notice now is I've just deleted everything. You can see the group still hangs around. So we may have to build a way of working out if it is the last item in the group, whether it needs to clear out. So we might actually need to create a delete activity method. So at the moment, what we do is we have let's go into something. So let's look at this. We have, when you delete something, we have this delete many. We might have to create a delete activity item method. And what that would do is actually look and figure out, when we pass this activity item in, we have to say, find the activity item, see if it belongs to a group. Is it the last item in a group? So let's implement that, just so we don't forget, because I feel like it's going to leave a lot of rubbish for us to tidy up later. So let's go delete activity item. Let's set up the type here. What are we going to expect? So at the moment, what are we doing? We're getting in a subject ID and a subject type. Subject ID is a string, subject type is a string as well. Okay, so we're going to get params, and it's going to be like this. And we're going to get const ID, subject type. Yep. Now, what we're going to do is, this is the standard delete activity, right? That's what we want, and we don't return it, so that's fine. We need to pass through Prisma, but we don't, because we can just get it from here. So we will do that. We won't use the context.prisma. This will just be subject ID and subject type. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, first we're going to find the activity. So, and this will be where, and this will just be that, yeah? And then what I'll do the same thing as I did before. I'll go const activity params or attributes. And we'll just use these, so we don't have to keep adding them in. So where activity attribute, so we can just keep always using the same. Then what we're going to say is check if activity is part of a group, and then it's going to be like if activity item, no, that's not right. It's going to have a parent item. So let's include that here. Parent item. Right. So what we're going to say here is, we actually don't, I don't know if we need to include, because we just need to have the parent ID here. Parent item ID, that's what we want, right? So if we have a parent item ID, it means we're part of a group. So now we're going to say, we're going to get the same thing from here, which is the related or the similar items, right? So we're going to get all the similar items where we don't need all of this anymore. We're just going to look for parent item ID. It's activity item.parent item ID. Okay. Now, if we have, no, what are you up? Yeah, okay, you're getting there. So you say, if we have less than 2 items in the group, delete the parent activity. That makes sense. So if we have 2 items currently, let's just think about this. So we have, at this time when we do this fetch, we haven't deleted the item, we have 2 items. If we delete this item, we're going to have 1. So we don't actually need the group anymore. So we're going to say if the length is less than or equal to 2, then we can delete the parent activity item. All right? So then we delete the parent, and then we can delete the activity. And that cleans up the parents for us. So let's give that a go. So at the moment we have this group here. Let's add in one photo. And we should see, where are you? Doesn't look like that's run. See if it's created an activity item. It's created a project image and it has joined it to the, hasn't joined it to the group. What's going on here? Let's see. Let's upload another one. Yeah, it didn't have a similar item. Okay, that's fine. So now we've got 2 similar items here. And we're still using this BF3 group, so that's fine. Let's go now back into here. So we need to use this and actually export it. And it's a default. And now we're going to import here. We're going to have delete activity item. And we're going to do this instead. So it'll be await. And we're passing through these variables. And we can get rid of this. Okay. So let's just look. So we're going to find the activity. If the activity has a parent item ID, we're going to find the similar items. And if those similar items are greater than 2, then we're going to, less than or equal to 2, we're going to delete the parent activity and then delete the activity. Okay, let's see if that works. All right. So now what that means to here is if we delete this, right, so we've got 2 projects, images and a project activity. If we delete this guy, we've still got, this one doesn't belong to the group yet. I wonder why not. So I want to just run here and run our activity feed. So let's see what is going on here. I might even get rid of this activity just so we can start on a clean slate. Image 1 creates it. Image 2 creates a group. So there's something it's not updating the parent item. So let's see what's going on here. Have we not done this? No. Okay, well that's why. We need to run this. Alright. That's the problem. Alright. Cool. So yeah, wasn't updating them. That's why it's not gonna, none of this is gonna work. Okay, so there's a mistake here. So that's that. This needs another bracket. Sweet. I might just do this so it's easier to read, even though it's not easy at all. Cool. Let's go again. This one. Delete. Delete. Cool. Clean up this. The group, because that doesn't work yet. Let's go. Just while I'm talking, we also need to remember to create a flag, or basically an allowed group type, because we don't want to be grouping everything. Okay, now we've got parent items. So that these two belong to this one. Now, as we delete these, when I delete this image, I should expect that that group disappears. There, did it go? Okay, let's figure out why that's not working. All right, so I've figured out why it's not working. Because this is calling the images route. You can see we've got a slightly different activity here. So what we need to do is we need to update this here. So where we delete many, right, we need to do where, and then we need to do all. Right, so we're going to go here. Okay. And what does this look like? This looks like an object. Then we also need to be able to pass in additional items to delete. How are we going to handle this one? Because we have multiple here that we need to check and delete. Additional subjects, I guess. So we can say, unless what we do is we do this, we go subjects is an array of, so we're going to say activity subject is an object that looks like this, and then subjects is just going to be an array of that. And then what we can do is we can probably do, I'm just trying to see how we can do this. So we want to find, we can find activity items. Let's find many. Where, same thing, or, and it'll be subjects. Alright, so we don't need this anymore. So we're going to find many activity items. Now, what we need to do is we need to find we need to find all the parent item IDs. Okay, so we got, I wonder if find many always returns an array. So we're going to say if parent item IDs dot length, we want to find activity where, oh, we're going to have to group each, we have to go through all the different types of parent item ID. Because there could be multiple. Loop sure. Now what we want to do, oh, what are you doing? Alright, so we're going to find the similar items, and then how is that null? Can't be null. Oh, we need to filter this. That can't be null. How's that right? We're filtering out the parent items where we have an ID. That should never be null. Anyway. So we're doing the same thing here, we're just handling an array now. Now we can handle an array of items. So we don't need this anymore. I'm just going to write here undefined. Just to shut that up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to delete all subjects. What are you saying? Okay. We're just going to go parent item IDs dot for each. So you can stop complaining. Okay. All right, so that should now do this. Should handle this. So let's import our, we need to create our import delete activity item. All right, and then we're going to go through here and we're going to pass through subjects, and that will be an array, basically this. All right, so that's our new. So we want to find all of these projects image with project image ID as well as anything with image. Now let's see how we go. All right. No one said this one was going to be easy. Okay. Image 1. 1, no parent. That makes sense. Image 2. Got a group now. Now, if we delete one of these, group goes. Boom, done. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now if I add another image, groups back. Add a third image, should be no new group, but just a boom. Now I go through and delete these guys, just double check. Delete one image. Still got the group. Delete another image. Group's gone. That is exactly what we want. Nailed it. Sweet as. Let's move on. Let's create the view. All right. So I'm quickly going to add in here this groupable event types because we only want to group these at the moment. So we're going to say if dot includes and it'll be the event type. What's this saying? Poster creators not so projects dot image created. Yeah, that's fine. That's the whole point. Cool. Anyway, we'll leave that be. Okay, so let's just jump in here now. So we're going to jump into our activity item, and now we know we've got a new type. So we're going to create a new folder, new component, I should say. It's going to be projects image created group index.tsx. Yeah, that should be fine. So that sits right underneath it. So let's just grab what we've got here. So okay, so we're going to set up the component. Now let's just rename this. It's a group. It's going to have an activity item. And what we're going to need to do here as well is when we fetch activity, we're going to need to change this slightly. We're also going to allow here, what we want to say is find many where parent item ID is null. Because we don't want to fetch the grouped items, the children of the parent. We don't want to ever fetch those. Okay, so we're just going to set that there. Now let's go here, and I'm just going to return for now. Yep, so we need the activity container. Let's just grab what we have. So it's the activity container. Let's just grab all of this. It'll be similar. So we'll do that. And the owner will just sub all this out for now. And I'm just going to say in here in the body, I'm just going to say we need to import that component. Which we have. Okay, good. All right, so let's just create this one. Sweet. Let's see. Is that the key? Do we have one yet? Probably deleted them all. No. That's all right. So we just appending, if we just from memory, we're appending dot grouped. So let's rename that so it matches. And then in here we'll do the same. Grouped, just so that it matches. Okay, let's see if this, we need to trigger this so that it actually loads it now. So if we open up the old tab, and let's delete this photo. I know we can actually leave that one. We'll do this. We'll go these two now, add them. Okay, now if we go back here, we should see the group. All right, so we're on. Let's just check our activity. So we got 3 here, we got a group. That's exactly what it wants. And this is the one that's being pulled through. All right, so in this group, what do we need now? So let's grab, this is going to be interesting. So this is now going to be, because it's an image query, we need to grab a few things. What can we do here with the activity item? When we fetch activity, we also want to actually include something. We want to include the subject. This is the problem. We can't actually include the subject because it's, or the owner, because it's not going to know, it's a polymorphic, it's not going to be able to do that. Yeah. How can we include that? Yeah, we have to fetch that from there. Okay. Because it's polymorphic, Prisma can't do it, which is a bit of a shame. So that's fine. Let's try and see how else we could do this. We could go and get, we need to get the user. So this is going to be the user query, and it's going to be get user by ID. And it's not user ID, it's going to be owner ID. And then we're going to have data user equals user query, and let's just console log that out and just see if we're getting it. We also need to ensure that we get the picture of the user. User images, image, cool, we've got it. All right, so user, that's all good. And this is going to be activity item.created at. All right, what are you saying? Cool, man. It's all good. So there we go. So Ken Grief at 233. So we got our thing. So what we want to say here is now images were added to project title. So now this is going to be an interesting one because we need to get the project title. So we need to fetch, I mean this is project images, so we know that we're going to have a project. So we can go and fetch the project as well. I guess we can, let's fetch the images. So let's fetch all these. So let's go and grab those. So I'm just going to comment this, user, and then here we're going to say images. So we're going to say project images query, get project images by project ID, yes. Now our project ID is going to be the subject ID, that's exactly right. Because when we create the group, we put the subject ID of the project here. So now we have this, so we can say const data is equal to projects images, and that is that. Now let's see what this looks like. I'm just going to comment that out in the meantime. So let's see what we're getting. Undefined. So what are we passing through? So let's just double check. So this probably doesn't even exist. Yeah, cool. So let's see what we do have. Projects images, we have get projects image by ID, create, get projects image by ID, get projects images. All right. And then we also want to include image. So we're going to go include image. Okay, let's see what we have now. Boom, 4 images. Now, what we need to add here is it's not just all the project images, it's only the images. So it's actually, what we need to do here is we need to fetch the activity items. Because the project images is returning all, we only want these 3 images that were added. So realistically, what we need to do, you know what we can do? I wonder if we can fetch the activity item and include. So when we fetch activity items, what we can do here is we can include sub items. Let's just log this and see what we're getting. That's interesting. Why are we not getting any sub items? Just refresh that. See what's going on here. There we go. Sub items. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to be able to pass through all the IDs of the project's images that we want to fetch. So we're going to need to add a new thing here. Get project images. We want to say here IDs, and that's going to be a zeta array string that's optional. So we need to refactor this slightly. Okay. And what we need to say here is filters equals this. Right, and we're going to put them there. And then what we're going to say is if input.ids, I wonder if you can do this. In. Is it just in? Right, so what we're going to say is this. If input.filters.id equals in there. Alright, so pull that out. And this will be equal to find many. I wonder, it's Prisma dot. Yeah. We need to cast this. It's a where input. Let's just import that type. Okay, and what are you saying now? No comma there. Yep, that's good. All right, so let's see what happens now. Okay, so that's all still working. So now what we should be able to do is inside of this guy here, when we go and fetch these, we should be able to say IDs. And that will be equal to, so we can say const project images IDs is equal to activity item dot sub items. So we're going to need to update this type here. It's going to be, let's look for it. It's going to be with So it looks like this. So it's an activity item get payload, and then we're just going to copy what that is. It's very simple. Okay, and then we're going to use this instead of that. I mean, we can probably keep the preview there. All right, so let's see now. What are you saying? Oh, yep, IDs, that's fine. I haven't done that yet. All right, so where are IDs here? Sub items dot map, and this will be the subject ID. Yep. And then we're going to say the IDs are that. Let's look at what these are anyway. And let's see what we're getting. So currently we're getting project image IDs 30E, 4AA, 1B6. Let's look at that. So 30E, 1B6, 4AA. Perfect. So now we got that. Now we should be able to, with that, now we're only getting 3 images back, not 4. So that's perfect. And now each one of those has an image. Happy days. We've got the file key ready to go. So how does that look? So we can now write, do we have the project in there somewhere? We've got the project ID. We need to just grab the same way we were doing before. We were including the user, but we also include the project here. So let's just include the project. What I'll do here is say project here. So when we want to fetch this, we can just say true. Let's see what we're getting now. Project images, project, boom. All right, so we got the project. So we can get that now. So what does that look like for us if we jump into the old one? All right, so let's go here. So we don't need the image. Project is now going to be projects image dot first dot project. So let's say this and see what we get. What are you saying? It's this. Okay, so this could. What are you saying? Does not have project image and. Let's just see what it's saying. Yeah, it does. It is getting it. So I'm going to ignore you for now. And then let's just do that. Whoops. Let me get rid of this line. And this is, we're just going to say images now. We're going to go directly to that. Now, when you hit read more, I'm just going to add a full stop there. When you hit read more, that should take us now to the images folder. There we go, and you can see all the images. Sick one. All right. Now what we'll do is we'll do little thumbnails in here. We're going to put little squares instead of one big one. All right, so let's loop through those. So how does this look? For now, I'm going to grab this. What has happened here? Go away, and you move up. And the image is projects image.image. what are you saying? What have we done? So broken something in here. What are you saying? You need a key. That's fine. All right, there we go. We got 3. That's pretty cool. That's really cool, actually. So what I want to do is we need to actually set up a little simple grid here, I think. So let's go simple grid. How many columns will this be? Let's try this. Let's import simple grid. Pull that in there, and then we're going to loop through these and chuck them in. We're going to grab that, and then we're going to grab this guy and chuck you there. Alright, what's the problem? Oh yeah, just added the key needs to live on that now. What does that look like? Oh, now we're talking. We could, what are we doing here? Let's no margin top that. Let's change the spacing to that. Oof, there we go. And that's it. Now let's just go and double check something. If we go and delete this, let's delete an image and see if we got our activity working properly. So this one's not the correct image. It's not a Hilux. Delete you. And refresh this. 2 images there. Boom! And let's work backwards. Let's go and delete this one. Boom. It's reverted out of the group and gone to a single image. I'm super proud of that, to be honest. That was some nice work there. And we finally got there in the end. But that's very cool. So now what we've done is we've set up the ability to group similar items that have been, or activities that have happened, so we don't pollute the feed with a whole bunch of images of the same build. So that's really cool. So really happy with that. And then another change that we're going to quickly make is we're actually going to promote our activity feed, and that's going to now become our home page. So I'm going to just close all this off. Let's just make sure we don't have any console logs running. I just want to get rid of them before we push this to production. Yep, there's a console log. All right, I'm going to pull that up there. And that's all existing, and that's all good. All right, so what we're going to do, the final piece here, just a little sneaky one, is we're going to turn this activity page, will be our home page. All right, so this is now, let's rename this to home page. All right. I wonder if we can get is loading in here. Yeah, I've noticed with use session it flickers, but that's all right for now. So we're going to just do this, and what we're going to do is say, see you later index page. Don't need you anymore, friend. We're going to rename you to index. Now, that's going to be undefined. But if we go into here, this is the new My 4x4 homepage. Thank you for playing. And then if we jump out of this and sign out, it will have the welcome and the add your build. And you jump in and we remove that because you've been here before. So let's see. Oh, that's fine. It's a Facebook localhost. But anyway, that's it. So thanks for playing. Catch you on the next one.